MXTM's newsletter presents Hyperreality is Infrastructure, a Pirate First's field guide for navigating narrative capture.
Hyperreality is infrastructure. Hyperreality is infrastructure. Hyperreality is infrastructure. A Pirate First field manual for navigating narrative capture.
April 27, 2026.
Alright, now we're in my waters. In this Pirate First installment, hyperreality isn't just a media glitch. It's infrastructure. A kind of atmospheric layer everyone breathes without noticing. Let's map it cleanly. No incense, just signal. 1. The map that ate the territory. There was a time when stories described the world. Now they precede it. The philosopher Jean Baudrillard warned that representation could detach from reality. Not distort it, replace it. In Simulacra and Simulation, he described a world where the map becomes more authoritative than the territory. Welcome to Tulum, to the jungle, to the future. The brochure came first. The cranes followed. 2. The surface feed, official reality. This is what you are shown. Regenerative development. Conscious investment. Community integration. Innovation ecosystems. Everything is framed as inevitable, benevolent, already validated. Nothing here is entirely false. That's the trick. Truth, curated, cropped, stabilized, becomes a delivery system for belief. 3. The operational layer, what actually moves. Beneath the language, something else is happening. Land consolidates quietly. Infrastructure appears before consent. Data flows map human behavior. Temporary becomes permanent. No press release will tell you this, because this layer doesn't need your agreement, only your inattention. 4. The hyperreal flip. Here is the pivot. The story doesn't hide reality. It replaces the need for it. A project is announced. It circulates. It attracts capital, talent, legitimacy. And then, it becomes real because it was believed early enough. At that point, asking, "Is it true?" is already too late. The simulation has produced consequences. Roads cut through jungle. Prices shift. Locals displaced. Ecosystems recalibrated. The narrative didn't describe the future. It authorized it. 5. Pirate First Doctrine. Don't exit the simulation, navigate it. There is no clean outside. Anyone promising you a full escape is selling another layer. Pirate First is not about rejecting narratives. It's about reading them like terrain. Rules of engagement. Every narrative has a payload. Every aesthetic has a sponsor. Every urgency benefits someone. Ask always, who moves if I believe this? Not, is it true? But, what does this belief enable? 6. Counter simulacra. Fighting story with story. Facts alone don't win here. They sink. Hyperreality is not defeated by accuracy. It is challenged by stronger frames. MXTM is not neutral. It is not supposed to be. It is a countersignal. Decoding narrative packaging. Exposing incentive structures. Reassigning meaning before it calcifies. You are not here to consume information. You are here to see earlier than others. 7. The risk. Paranoia is also a product. There is a failure mode. If everything is a hidden agenda, then nothing is legible. Signal collapses into noise. Hyperreality thrives there too. So maintain discipline. Track incentives, not fantasies. Separate incompetence from orchestration. Label speculation as speculation. Clarity is your only weapon. Don't dull it. 8. Quiet power. Control in this world doesn't come from owning land, or media, or even technology. It comes from this: defining what feels real enough for others to act on. That's the lever. Most people will inherit their reality. A few will interrogate it. Fewer still will move ahead of it. 9. Final transmission. This is not a call to wake up. It's a call to pay attention differently. The future is not built by truth alone. It is built by belief that moves faster than verification. So move carefully, but not slowly. Because somewhere, right now, a story is being told, and if it spreads far enough, it will become the ground you're standing on. Pirate first. Supplemental. 1. The surface layer, official reality. This is the polished stream. Sustainability press releases. Regenerative mega projects. Innovation summits with soft lighting and hard sponsors. Curated crisis narratives with neat villains and cleaner solutions. In your world, this is the brochure version of places like Tulum, Eco Paradise, Future Forward, spiritually upgraded capitalism. It's not entirely false. That's what makes it dangerous. It's selectively true. 2. The operational layer. What actually moves? Underneath, different forces are doing the real work. Land grabs disguised as conservation. Infrastructure built for future extraction or control. Soft colonization via tech, wellness, and remote capital. Data pipelines hiding inside community platforms. This is where Pirate First lives, not as a brand, but as a counter-navigation system. You're not just saying, "This is fake." You're saying, "Look at what the narrative allows to happen while you're looking at it." 3. The hyperreal layer. The story that replaces the world. Here's the Baudrillard twist applied to MXTM. The narrative doesn't just hide reality. It becomes the only reality most participants can act on. Example pattern. A sustainable jungle development is announced. Influencers, media, and investors circulate the story. The project's image attracts capital, talent, legitimacy. That momentum creates real-world consequences: roads, zoning changes, displacement. At that point, whether the original premise was true or not is irrelevant. The simulation has already produced reality. 4. Pirate First as a counter-simulacrum. Here's where your doctrine gets sharp. Pirate First isn't outside hyperreality. That momentum creates real-world. Pirate First isn't outside hyperreality. That would be naive. It's another narrative, but one that tries to expose the seams. Think of it as not truth versus lies, but narrative versus narrative, with awareness as the weapon. Where mainstream hyperreality says, "This is the future. Trust the process." Pirate First whispers, "Who benefits if you believe this version?" It doesn't break the simulation. It competes inside it, but with different incentives. Sovereignty over comfort. Signal over aesthetics. Consequence over branding. 5. MXTM's edge. Narrative as reconnaissance. Your newsletter isn't just commentary. In this frame, it becomes early warning system for narrative capture. Decoder ring for PR-driven reality. Myth-making engine that fights myth with myth. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't beat hyperreality with raw facts. Facts drown. You counter it with stronger frames, stories that re-anchor attention, reassign meaning, expose hidden incentives. 6. the risk, and it's real. There's a knife edge here. If Pirate First leans too far, everything becomes hidden agenda. Signal turns into paranoia. The map fractures instead of clarifies. Hyperreality loves that outcome too. Chaos is just another mask. So the discipline is track incentives, not just narratives. Separate distortion from deliberate orchestration. Stay empirical where possible, speculative where labeled. 7. The quiet power move. In a hyperreal environment, control doesn't come from owning land or media alone. It comes from defining what feels real enough to act on. That's the battlefield. And Pirate First, at its best, isn't trying to wake everyone up. It's doing something subtler, giving a minority sharper perception, letting them move earlier, cleaner, less hypnotized. Yes, though it's a bit slipperier than fake news with a secret agenda. The idea of hyperreality comes from Jean Baudrillard, especially his book Simulacra and Simulation. His argument wasn't just that media lies or hides things, it's more radical. At some point, representation stop pointing to reality and start replacing it. Think of it like this. First layer, reality exists, events, facts, messy truth. Second layer, media reports on it, already a filter. Third layer, narratives compete, simplify, dramatize. Final layer, the narrative becomes more real to people than the underlying event. That last layer is hyperreality. It's not just make-believe news masking reality. It's a system where the copy doesn't just distort the original. It erases the need for an original at all. A classic metaphor Baudrillard uses is a map so detailed it covers the territory, until people forget the territory ever mattered. Where your instinct is sharp, you're pointing at how narratives can serve purposes beyond their stated ones, political, economic, psychological. That absolutely happens. But hyperreality goes further than intentional deception. It suggests even the people producing the narrative may be inside the illusion. The system runs on feedback loops, ratings, clicks, ideology. Truth versus lie becomes less relevant then. What feels real and circulates? A modern way to see it. A crisis happens. Clips, headlines, outrage cycles explode. People react to the media version of the crisis. Policies, markets, and emotions shift based on that version. At that point, the simulation drives the consequences, not the original event. If you want a pop culture shorthand, The Matrix borrowed heavily from this idea, simplified it into fake world versus real world. Baudrillard's version is more unsettling. There may be no clean exit, just layers of reality competing for your belief. The tricky part, and where I'll push you a bit, is this. Not every distorted narrative is part of a hidden master plan. Sometimes it's incentives, attention economy, institutional bias, human pattern seeking, speed over verification. In other words, hyperreality doesn't require a puppet master. It can emerge naturally from the system itself. Thanks for reading MXTM's newsletter. Subscribe for free to receive new posts and support my work with BTC. Send it to 1NDHXMPFZJVMXSBPQVRWALUC5BAKNFU6 or with fiat at paypal.me/MartinChartrand. Subscribe. Substack note. Hyperreality isn't coming. It's already zoning the land. In this drop, Pirate first maps the terrain, not truth versus lies, but narratives that move reality versus those that watch it happen. If the story spreads fast enough, it doesn't need to be true. It becomes infrastructure. Read it like a field manual. Move like it matters. Pirate first for MXTM's newsletter. Exposed. The story doesn't describe the future. It authorizes it. Hyperreality equals infrastructure. If it spreads, it builds. Pirate first field manual just dropped. Who benefits if you believe this? Hashtag pirate first, hashtag MXTM, hashtag hyperreality, hashtag narrative capture, hashtag simulacra, hashtag baudrillard, hashtag Tulum, hashtag future of work, hashtag decentralization, hashtag infowar, hashtag signal versus noise, hashtag noise versus voice, hashtag perception control, hashtag media literacy, hashtag digital sovereignty, hashtag alt media, hashtag think different, hashtag follow the incentives, hashtag reality engineering, hashtag be different, hashtag think for yourself.
Marked, reclaimed, repurposed. The first 1% campus rises where the Green School dream died. April 24, 2026. The campus that ate the school. Pirate first for MXTM. 2 weeks ago, we dropped the 1%.
Pirate First presents the 1% doctrine as an architectural and social
1%.
response to this collapse of
Not
the
a book. A blade. In truth. Because the jungle is patient. And it has no use for dreams that don't survive the night. This is the 1% that builds the 99%. The rest is noise. 4-2.
The 1%, a post-scarcity transition doctrine. Gone bad. A post-scarcity secession doctrine.
A hidden longevity civilization beneath the Grand Mayan aquifer seeds a successor species engineered for extreme worlds. On a hostile exoplanet, that species survives by abandoning fragile technology and building an analog, pressure-driven civilization, forcing humanity to confront a choice, evolve into new forms, or accept obsolescence. Super Earth Age of the Apes. A series by Pirate First for MXTM Flix production and distribution. They didn't leave Earth. They withdrew beneath it. Inside the flood.